Peter Stastny is almost 70 years old, and many would say he wasted what could have been an even more legendary career. But the story of how this hockey superstar destroyed his own legacy might surprise you. In 2008, when most retired athletes were enjoying quiet lives, Peter Stastny made headlines for all the wrong reasons. He called for the resignation of Juraj Široky, the president of the Slovak Ice Hockey Federation, claiming the man was a former communist spy. But Stastny didn't stop there. When Široky refused to step down, Peter took the most extreme action possible. He voluntarily resigned from the Slovak Hockey Hall of Fame and demanded that his name and number be removed from Samsung Arena, the home of his former club. Think about that for a moment. This man threw away his own honors and legacy over a political grudge. Most people would see this as career suicide, but for Peter Stastny, destroying his own reputation seemed more important than preserving his hockey legacy. This wasn't the first time Stastny's obsession with politics overshadowed his athletic achievements. His entire career was built on running away from problems instead of facing them head-on. The pattern of self-destruction that would define his later years actually started much earlier than most people realize. But before we dive deeper into how Peter sabotaged his own success, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And let me know in the comments what you would have done if you were in Peter's shoes during that 2008 controversy. Would you have thrown away your own legacy like he did? The seeds of Stastny's self-destructive behavior were planted long before his hockey career even began. Born in 1956 in Bratislava, Czechoslovakia, Peter grew up in a system that gave him everything a young athlete could want. He and his brothers Marian and Anton received special privileges that ordinary citizens could only dream of. They had access to cars, comfortable apartments, and cash bonuses for their victories. The communist state treated them like royalty because they were winning gold medals and bringing glory to the country. But instead of being grateful for these opportunities, Peter harbored deep resentment toward the very system that made him successful. His childhood memory of the 1968 Soviet invasion apparently haunted him so much that he couldn't separate his personal feelings from his professional obligations. While other athletes focused on their sport, Peter was busy smuggling forbidden Western publications like the Hockey News into the country. This wasn't just teenage rebellion. This was a direct challenge to the government that was paying his bills and making his career possible. The government gave Peter every chance to succeed. They won back-to-back World Championship gold medals in 1976 and 1977, cementing their status as hockey royalty. The Stastny brothers were living proof that the communist system could produce world-class athletes. But Peter couldn't leave well enough alone. His defiant attitude eventually forced the government to give him an ultimatum: conform to the party line and stay quiet, or face consequences. Any reasonable person would have chosen to keep their mouth shut and enjoy their privileged position, but not Peter Stastny. The warning signs were everywhere, but Peter's arrogance blinded him to the reality of his situation. He believed there was no future for me as a player or a person in Czechoslovakia, but the truth was that he had already achieved more success than most athletes could ever dream of. His inability to appreciate what he had reveals a fundamental character flaw that would plague him throughout his life. Instead of working within the system or finding diplomatic solutions, Peter chose the most dramatic and selfish option possible. In August 1980, while representing his country at a tournament in Austria, he and his brother Anton secretly plotted their escape. Using Austrian coins and a phone number stolen from an NHL media guide, Peter called the Quebec Nordiques and essentially offered to abandon his homeland for money. The escape itself reads like a spy novel, which Peter himself has proudly compared it to. But what he never talks about is the devastating impact his decision had on the family he left behind. His older brother Marian, who had helped arrange the escape but couldn't join them, became the target of brutal government retaliation. Marian was suspended from all hockey activities, banned from working anywhere in the country, and placed under constant police surveillance. The stress was so severe that Marian's family lost significant weight from the psychological torture. The punishment extended to Peter's parents as well. They were denied a new apartment they had been waiting for, and their father was demoted from his job. Essentially, Peter's selfish decision to chase Western money destroyed the lives of everyone he claimed to love. The government even erased Peter and Anton from official records, making them non-persons as if they had never existed. When Peter later played for Canada against Czechoslovakia, commentators were forbidden from speaking his name, resorting to awkward descriptions like "puck was retrieved by Canadian center" or "a good scoring chance by player number 26. But Peter didn't seem to care about the suffering he had caused. He was too busy enjoying his new life in North America, where he became an instant celebrity. The Quebec Nordiques treated him like a conquering hero, and Peter soaked up all the attention. He even made a point of learning French to endear himself to the Quebec fans, showing that he was perfectly capable of adapting to new situations when it benefited him personally. The most disturbing aspect of Peter's defection was how calculated and premeditated it was. This wasn't a spontaneous decision made in the heat of the moment. The escape involved Canadian embassy officials and Austrian police all working to evade Czechoslovak secret agents. Peter later described these moments as the scariest moments of my life, but he had voluntarily put himself and his family in that dangerous position for purely selfish reasons. On the ice, Peter's statistics were undeniably impressive. He scored 450 goals and recorded 789 assists for 1,239 points in 977 regular season games. He was the second highest scorer of the entire 1980s, behind only Wayne Gretzky. His rookie season was particularly remarkable, as he became the first rookie in NHL history to record over 100 points, finishing with 109 and winning the Calder Memorial Trophy. He recorded 6 consecutive 100-point seasons, proving his sustained excellence. These achievements are certainly noteworthy, but they came at an enormous human cost that Peter seemed willing to ignore. The most telling aspect of Peter's character is how he romanticized his defection while downplaying its consequences. He called it the best decision I ever made and claimed it gave his family choices and options that people behind the Iron Curtain could only dream of. But he conveniently forgot to mention that his choices came at the expense of his brother's freedom and his parents' well-being. Even when Marion eventually escaped to join his brothers in Quebec a year later, the family was permanently scarred by the experience. Marion had to execute his own elaborate escape plan, undertaking fake home renovations to convince authorities he had no intention of leaving. The communist government's brutal retaliation had achieved its intended effect of terrorizing other potential defectors. Peter's decision to prioritize his own freedom over his family's safety revealed a fundamental selfishness that would define the rest of his life. Peter's defection also opened the floodgates for other Eastern European players to abandon their countries. While some might view this as a positive development, it essentially destroyed the competitive balance that had existed in international hockey. Players like Miroslav Freiker, Petr Klima, and Petr Nedvěd followed Peter's lead, creating a brain drain that weakened European hockey for years to come. After retiring from hockey in 1995, Peter could have quietly enjoyed his accomplishments and the wealth he had accumulated. Instead, he chose to enter politics, serving as a member of the European Parliament from 2004 to 2014. This career change might have seemed admirable to some, but it really just showed that Peter could never let go of his political grievances. The Cherokee controversy in 2008 perfectly encapsulated everything wrong with Peter's approach to life. He described Cherokee as a threat to democracy and integrity of the game, and called him a fully qualified and professional spy, loyal to communist ideology. Instead of handling the situation diplomatically or working behind the scenes to address his concerns, he chose the most destructive path possible. By demanding that his own name and achievements be erased from Slovak hockey history, Peter essentially completed the job that the communist government had started decades earlier. His decision to resign from the Slovak Hockey Hall of Fame and remove his legacy from Samsung Arena was the ultimate act of self-sabotage. Most athletes spend their entire careers trying to build a lasting legacy, but Peter threw his away over a political dispute that had nothing to do with hockey. This wasn't principled leadership or moral courage. This was the tantrum of a man who never learned how to handle disagreement without burning everything down. The tragic irony is that Peter Stastny could have been remembered as one of hockey's greatest ambassadors. His skill, determination, and success in the NHL proved that talent transcends political systems. Instead, he will be remembered as a man who let his personal grudges destroy relationships, hurt his family, and ultimately diminish his own legacy. Peter Stastny is almost 70 now, and his story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of letting politics consume your life. His impressive statistics and Hall of Fame induction in 1998 can't erase the fact that he repeatedly chose conflict over compromise and personal glory over family loyalty. His legacy remains tainted by his inability to move past old grievances and his willingness to destroy his own achievements for the sake of political principle. If you found this story as shocking as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more untold stories about sports legends who destroyed their own careers. Peter Stastny had everything handed to him, but he couldn't stop fighting battles that ultimately cost him more than they were worth.